Seek, Speak Truth, Puppet Script 10, Extended. Let's take a deeper look at these Masons. You can see here that they have a ritual where they kneel in front of a person that I assume that that's an initiate. It's going to be initiated into the Beast Boy Club. And then we see the same type situation going on here with this George Floyd psyop. It's a Masonic ritual, and we see this guy that makes these dummies that look like they're in pain and agony. I'm pretty sure he's a Mason. And then we can see how good this guy is at making these dummies, because I mean that's clearly a dummy, but it'd be very hard for you to tell just taking a glance at it. You have to take a very close look. And then we can see them load this dummy on the stretcher. You see the same expressions as the one that he held. We see that they were covering the lower portion of the dummy during this kneeling ritual. And we see this goes all the way to when it started with Kaepernick, but it didn't start with him. He just was fulfilling his part of the script. He probably was getting initiated into becoming a Mason at that time. You see the politicians doing it, and he was involved in that Super Bowl, the Blackout Bowl. You remember that he lost, and all of a sudden the Niners are back in the bowl the year that they start this new ritual. And taking a knee is in fact a Masonic ritual. And we can see that Bill and Melinda Snakes say that so-called black people must be vaccinated first. I'm pretty sure they had that in the Simulation 201 that was failed to be mentioned, how they were going to start this revised civil rights movement under the guise of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is ran by lesbians. And we can see that these people are up to hand tricks and fancy handshakes, and this is how you can tell who is who. You can see them in images with this certain handshake that they do. And we see this goes to the Atlanta Prince Hall. The women have their own branch as well, the Eastern Stars. So it's a boys and girls club. It's a big old club, and you ain't in it. And we can see this blind faith philosophy here, having blind faith. It's like you should have blind faith in Mother Nature, the Creator, not the beast. And then we can see this Jesus imagery is very similar to the Baphomet in every way. You know, that was a puppet script book that they wrote, and you know, what a way to trick the people by having them worshiping Jesus is really the Baphomet. They don't know. And we can see this being born again and these philosophies that are in that book, because they have to get in that coffin and have a reawakening. You know, it's the rising of the phoenix. Taking his knee, and you know, I saw where they had a man, he proposed to a woman and she rejected him, and they broadcast that shortly after to shame man and woman from what that kneeling is really about. And we could see that the Nipsey Russell psyop was also a Masonic ritual where they loaded him into the ambulance, or they loaded a dummy into the ambulance. You see these people love the number 33. They know the power of numbers and the power of codification, and they use certain numbers and codes to fuel their mind control. You see once again the Baphomet is who they worship. The Templars worship the Baphomet. The Masons worship the Baphomet. All religions are made by the Baphomet to get them away from Mother Nature, the Creator. We see they have knowledge, and we see they use it for evil. We see women involved with this as well. We see the women also involved. They have their own branches and chapters as well. The Beast Boy and Beast Girl Network. We see the Kennedy assassination in Daily Plaza, owned by a Mason. We see the coordination of that psyop to where you actually thought a president got his head blown off, and they would show you this on TV. It's all scripted. It's all puppet show. You see the 47 and 90 degrees. We see the measurements. We see these measurements are used to build. And when you're talking about building, we're talking about building on logic and compound interest. And they do things in reverse. They build on ignorance and they compound ignorance. Illogic. And then we see once again the worship of the Baphomet. We see the symbols that they throw, symbolizing the cooperation with the Baphomet and being down with the Beast Boy Club. We see the Pope involved. We see every leader, every person that you know about that is popular or famous or a celebrity. They have to be down with the get down to get to that position. You see, these people will not let someone in that position that are not under their control. We see once again the Pope with the hidden hand. You know, these people think this shit is funny what they do. You know, they do it in plain sight, and people that don't know, they don't get it, and it's funny to them. The dupe is the light. We see once again the shake with the Obamas, the Beast Boy and Beast Girl Club extends across all areas of the earth. Okay, Satan at the Vatican. We know that the Pope is called the Vicar of Christ, so if he's in that place until Christ returns, now we starting to get a better picture of who they're talking about. It's Lucifer, because this is a demonic entity. It's a demonic presence. It's a demonic energy and force, a dead zone. And we see once again, we see women heavily involved with this as well. You know, it's like the Beast Boy and the Beast Girl are together, and they do things together. And we can see how this Russian and U.S. friction is all orchestrated. It's all fake, made up, artificial. We see the so-called persecuted Jews. You know, they always come with a new name for who's doing this and that, and we know that they're all Masons. You can try to play the name game all you want. It's like we know that, you know, they come in all shades of black. Okay, every shade of black. People that call themselves black are a shade of black. People that call themselves white are a shade of black. Okay, so, you know, being trapped in the Masonic world, and you know, this is how they have made the world a simulation that they orchestrate. We see it goes back to the Moors, you know, where they got this information and they, you know, dissolved one corporation and they start another corporation up. We see Thurgood Marshall, you know, people that were involved with historical events were Masons. Brown versus the Topeka Board of Education. We see Winston Churchill, the former leader of Britain or England, whichever name they're going by today, also a Mason. Not just a man, a Mason. See, this reverse psychology that they use. You're not just a man, you're a Mason. It's like when you're born as a man or a woman, you don't need to put anything on top of that. What you're doing is you're watering it down and making it weak. You see Nelson Mandela, also a Mason, promoted around the world by the Beast. We see Washington and the Baphomet statue are eerily similar. So we know who started this corporation. We know who runs this corporation. We know the symbology that they like to use. And if you think that these airheads that went on the moon and flew and landed on the light, you are sadly confused. You're mistaken. It's like they're not leaving the earth and going anywhere. Okay? They're not allowed in the universe. And we see Donald Trump. All of a sudden he was in it with Hillary, and we see they have some kind of relation. We see they're together. And then we see the money as well, the tranny face tissue, the paper, the Monopoly paper they print, all full of symbols. We see the Bohemian Grove where they sacrifice a child, and it's probably one they got from Planned Parenthood. I'm pretty sure it's a fetus. And then we see Nelson Mandela down with the get down. We see Jay-Z. We know, he's reached the billionaire status. We know he's a Mason. It's a known thing. We see that sign that he throws has something to do with the Masonic agenda. We see the so-called Prince Harry, Scary Harry and the Hendersons. He's down with the get down. And we see Donald Trump is down with the get down. So you can see how they got a large group of people brainwashed thinking that Trump is going to save them, just like Jesus. It's like, you're going to save yourself. You need to wake up and seek and speak the truth. And that's the only way you're going to do it. We see the women are down. We see this so-called George Floyd character. We see the black and white chess game active here. We see the so-called officer involved is different from the one that they had take the mug shot. They're using different images of people, and people are thinking they're the same person. It's like you're not paying attention to what is being shown to you. These are clearly different people. That was George Floyd, and then all of a sudden this is George Floyd. It's like, how many fucking George Floyds are there? It's like people need to be more aware of what's going on. It's like the information is being put out by people who are on the same path of getting the truth, and we have to acknowledge this and examine this and recognize this. And it's pretty clear to see that these are not the same people that they're showing you. They're showing different images of different people, and people are thinking that it's the same person. I mean, they're so sloppy with what they do now. You see, it's a malfunction happening with the frequency that the beast is not able to manipulate like he used to. And we see this guy's different. And we see this guy was on the video, and the lady came up and was like, "Hey, is that you?" And he's like, "Yep, it's me." It's like, wow, how did she know? How did he know? And I looked at what he was buying, and he was buying some Oreo cookies, And that's just another sign to show you that it's the Masons involved with this black and white chessboard mind game. And then we see Nancy Pelosi doing the Baphomet pose. All the leaders, so-called leaders, are all puppets. They're all puppets for the beast. They do things when the beast has set for them to do it, and that's when it's going to happen. And they, do this little thing back and forth like it's a battle over something that was already set for a certain date. And once again, we see it all started with Charlemagne and Biden jumping that off on May the 22nd, the black and white chessboard game. We see they like to do rehashes and reloops. Pocahontas, and that's Kamala Harris, and we can see where this is going with that. The brick gate, people want to know how the bricks get there. Well, the Masons, they call themselves builders, and it should be clear who left those bricks.